Big topics, big stories, and big news. The Big Rich Show. It happens here. What defines a man? Money, wealth, riches, the woman on his side, material things? Not so fast. Maybe it's compassion. Maybe it's wanting to help uplift others. Maybe it's being genuine to every person that you come across. Maybe it's being a leader and a teacher. At the same time, you learn to follow and be taught. What will your legacy be? Tonight's guest, he has his secured and locked in place. Join us next. Why? Because it happens here.
I have 12 questions I have to answer for a magazine that wants to write up a little bit on me. It's very, very nice and flattering of them. What prompted my interest in the entertainment business? I want to make a difference. I want to do something noble, following my passion, which is music and a little bit of acting. And the love I get from the crowd of doing philanthropy and charity and everything has breathed new wind into the sails of my soul. And that is truly the origin of SOHO Johnny. Good experience coming here for these couple of weeks between the NAMM show and jamming and great talented artists and good soulful human beings like Scott Page.
SOHO, is it on?
It's on.
Is this thing on?
It's recording.
SOHO Johnny, you're the best, dude. I love what you do. Anyway, you've been great. Thank you so much for supporting our organization. It's been awesome. And I'm really happy that I met you, brother, because you are the coolest dude. I love you.
Where is it? It's right behind you, just like that.
The agreement with Scott is the harmony of just the connectivity that you have with the love of the audience. It's just sharing that time warp of having that one moment of everybody smiling and just taking them away from their lives and just entertaining.
Happy to be here to support.
And I'm sitting in a 1954 Chevrolet Bel Air. This is Highway 39. This is the venue for Scott. My buddy Scott Page has got a dynamite concert here running concurrently with the NAMM show in Anaheim. Jamming tonight, we're getting ready. A classic rock all-star jam and vintage car exhibit, because that's where we are. There's about $15 million worth of restored cars here from 1937 to the 1960s. This young, talented artist, Feng Yi from Taiwan, and he is extremely talented with his ukulele. You're being called an old soul, which is a compliment. So Feng, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
I started playing ukulele when I was 6 years. Then I just play ukulele every day, 15 minutes. And sometimes, I don't know why, I just tell my father I want to join a competition. And I win a little prize. So after that, I think I love performance and the competition and the ukulele and the music more.
Can I ask how old you are?
Now it's 12.
I think it's beautiful to have youth, the experience of youth tied with creativity and talent and the gift of music. Thank you very much, and thank you so much for coming and joining Smite.
And welcome to the Big Rich Show, guys. Riding shotgun with me tonight. Really, he doesn't need an introduction. He's a promoter. He's an entertainer. He is an icon. Sometimes you can catch him in Los Angeles. He likes to hang out in New York City. You'll catch him at after parties anywhere from the Grammys to the Academy Awards. I got SOHO Johnny in the house tonight. Brother, what's going on?
How are you, Rich? How are you
Oh,
today?
man, I feel good actually. I'm energized. I'm excited to have you with me, and I know we're going to have a great ride tonight.
Well, thank you so much for having me on the show today.
Absolutely, you're looking good, brother. Do
Well,
you?
we try. A little shave here and there, a little tucks here, and we try to keep it real.
Absolutely, man. So, what is going on new in your world?
Well, that's a interesting question. Soho Johnny is a kind of a moniker name that I've gotten from friends years ago, and I'll give you a little bit of history and work my way up to it. But my family, several generations, emanated from Soho, NYC, New York City. And, my grandfather, like many of us out there, they were immigrants and they were poor and they put, a few things together to try to make a few shekels, a few pennies. And over the generations, my dad, they had a trucking company and they knew a lot of people down there. And then in later generations, my moniker just became Soho Johnny, obviously because I had my businesses and I got more and more involved with the family business. And a lot of it was just interacting. And, in those days, and like in the old Soho, it was great because, one of the things that, I'd like to talk about is unity today, especially given what's going on. And, you have something that these small streets, I mean, it's an old manufacturing district, the Soho, so to speak, in the city. Of course, there's not manufacturing in the States so much anymore, but back in the day it was. And, in order to pull down a big truck in these narrow streets, everybody had to cooperate.
Oh,
Everyone was a spirit of working together, and they were all hardworking people, that were just like, just trying to make a living. And I remember those days with my dad. They're very, very near and dear to me. So that was part of how I became, and then I got involved with entertainment, and I chose the name Soho Johnny. So that's a little bit about what I've done. To segue into, I think your question is, I've done some recording. I'm starting with some acting, and I produce shows. I'm privileged to say that I've had the honor of working with the American Cancer Society and raising money for cancer, which is near and dear to me. Of course, as I speak now, everyone's thinking of the coronavirus. This is probably something that's going to be on one of my future shows that will come sometime soon once things start to come to some semblance of live performances. I'm sure the live performances will be a little bit different than they were before, probably a little more spaced apart between individuals, but there's always a need for it, especially during trying times and the people and the human behavior to have fun and to have outlets, especially given what we are living at home at this particular time.
awesome. So right there, fans, that is a little bit about the brand and the man behind the brand, you see. It wasn't like he just woke up one day and decided, I'm going to be Soho Johnny. We got a little bit of, he gave us a little bit of history there. I appreciate that. So you had mentioned helping and lending hands, and that's a lot of what we're about as well at BRRS-MEDIA. It's about uplifting.
Grab that.
Uplifting each other, and helping each other. If you need my shoulders, I'm going to stand there and I'm going to help to uplift you. If you need my hand to pull you up, I'm there for you. And just to give you an example, one of the girls that does the radio show with me, little Lisa, this girl is nonstop. She should be at home resting, but she's out right now because she was like, oh my gosh, with all the restaurants closed down and everything that's going on, how are the homeless eating? Because even the ones that relied on the churches and the places that would give them lunches, that when they were open, now there's no dumpsters because a lot of them would go dumpster dining at night because a lot of good food, people don't realize, a lot of really good produce and food is thrown out nightly.
I know, it's a shame.
Pounds of this. And a lot of the homeless live off that. Well, now that's not there. So she's trying to make an impact. She has been going around to the communities. My company has been donating bread. She's done everything from pulled pork sandwiches to hot dogs, peanut butter, whatever they could make that day. They go around and they're going out to all the homeless spots and they're feeding these people. And they, they're like, oh my gosh, God bless you, because we have been, one guy had said he had been 4 days without anything in his stomach except a bottle of water.
Well, first, I just want to put a shout out to you for your show and spreading optimism and goodwill to everybody. And I want to thank you for that. I think it's wonderful. And we all have to do our part. I think no matter what our walk in life is, you don't have to be in entertainment or have a show, but, John Q. Public out there, we are all role models to each other. Absolutely. And it's important to do it, especially in trying times, okay, such as this. The outreach, I mean, one of the things I've been posting and saying, social distancing is not social isolation. As a matter of fact, it's the opposite. Right. It demands that we become more communicative, that we have more outreach, and that we're there for doing the beautiful things that you're just talking about. There's many wonderful agencies. I know down in Soho, there's something like called God's Love We Deliver, that for years they've been delivering food to elderly people or sick people, such as that. And, there's a redefinition that we're all realizing here about our way of life and what's happening. In every tragedy, although you don't want it to happen, at least there is some salvageable good that comes out of it. Mm-hmm. And it's my fervent hope that some of the good that comes out of it will give, and I've always been saying this for years on my platform, SOHO Johnny, SOHOJohnny.com, whatever, that, every day is a blessing and a gift. And if we always keep that in back of our mind, how we relate to people, how we approach people, how we help people, okay? And it could be the simple thing of putting a smile on somebody's face as you're walking down the block. It's as simple as that, just having a kind thing to say. I posted the other day, I said, but we're home. Guess what? Let's go through your contacts. You do a little bit every day. You start from the closest people to you, because you're always checking on your mom or your brother, your sister, people, that's out there. Of course, you're going to do that in these uncertain times. But besides that, people that you're not as close to or you haven't seen in a long time, pick up the phone and say hello. Hopefully, prayers out and to everybody that's afflicted. And I know we have, a lot of too many fatalities. One death is too much in my mind. But, you'd be surprised, because a big part of the issue now that we're dealing with is the mentality and the fear that's in the common public. Okay, fear is fear itself. It is just an emotion. We need to deal with it rationally, and we need to constantly be there and lift each other's spirits up. Okay, it's not the end of the world. Nobody lives forever, but every day should be treasured and pleasured. And what's the most important thing that we're going to take with us is the love that we leave behind and the people that really cared about us.
Absolutely.
Okay? That is the most fundamental thing. Not getting into religion. Everyone's entitled to believe in what their denomination is. But this is a big part that's guided me. I mean, I've gotten so much love, Richard, for the cancer benefits I've done. I've done some disco ones, okay, which maybe we'll talk about in a few minutes. And I've done festivals all day. And I produced them. And people come up to me, and this is pre-coronavirus. Of course, the next one's probably going to be for corona victims or their families. But, there's no measure. You can't value. You can't put you can't quantify the feeling you get when people come there. It puts wind in my sails, and I think it's so important. It speaks to the very spirit of humanity.
Yeah, I commend you for that, brother. And there is no better feeling. You're right. The knowing that you're able to spread the love and that people are feeling, actually coming to you saying, you know what you're doing is huge. It's changed my life. And you said it, and this is the hammer hitting the nail on the head, that it's as simple as smiling at someone on the street, or holding the door for them at a store, or asking that stranger, hey, how you doing? How's your day? That right there could be the difference between them going home and maybe doing something they shouldn't, because they feel like the world is sometimes people feel invisible, and just you with your little interaction, you just save their soul from doing something they might have done that night.
it's a domino effect. It's contagious.
Absolutely.
Okay, making somebody laugh, and you know, of course, the common theme of what I do with SOHO Johnny Entertainment is music oriented or shows, and I think I have it on my website, sohojohnny.com. I mean, let me try to remember. I come up with these quotes and I post them. But the breadth of human experience is spoken in the language of musical expression, something like that. Okay, he who sings prays twice. I mean, it's so important that we recognize that. I mean, music is apolitical. Music transcends all boundaries and unites us, and it's just a feel-good feel. Music is a time warp, right? You could just think about your first crush when you were in 5th grade, right? It's a wonderful thing, and I think it's a very, very important part of our life. It's a little bit subdued now, so we're resorting to the internet, and we'll be doing shows. And I've got some interesting, very, very fabulous projects that I'm privileged to work with some people that we'll be getting into, I guess, in a few minutes as well. But the common theme here, okay, there's always the side for the business, okay, because we have to pay our bills and we have to make a living. But I could not do that without having something philanthropic, because that's truly what matters, and that's truly what makes me, it just gives me such a wonderful feeling. I'm privileged to have a lot of great people around me that work for me. I mean, one of the things that's interesting when you look at businesses, you know, especially small businesses where, you know, because of more interaction with a small group of people, is that, you know, when people talk about their employer or they talk about who, you know, a lot of times when they talk kindly about them, that speaks a lot to the employer and the small business owner, right? They're really, really not, you know, listen, it's not perfect. Of course, there's some things, bumps along the road, like my 94-year-old uncle used to say before he passed, God bless him. But, you know, that's the type of spirit that we need right now. It's really, these are trying times, but we have to step up. And we have a responsibility to make a difference and to unite and lift everyone up during this time. It is so important. I can't emphasize it enough.
And I'm with you 100% on that. Yeah, it's all about the uplifting. And like I said, the longer you get to know me and the people who follow me and my fans, they get that. We're all about sharing the love and lending helping hands, and yeah, I'm glad. I'm so happy to hear all of that. And with that said, let me ask you a question. And everything that you've done right now, since day one, even before the SOHO Johnny, what is one of the craziest moments that you can think of in your life? Because I know that growing up in New York.
Where do I start?
Yeah, a borough that you were in, you had to see some wild things as a youth.
Well, listen, I mean, there's such a diversity of character and culture, and you and I were touching upon it before the show, you know, that we both shared a second education of itself in being able to deal with all different cultural and ethnic backgrounds. Right. I think it's absolutely wonderful. You know, it really grounds you to see and value people. We're all together and everybody's equal, truly are equal. I mean, it's in the Constitution. It's a great word. We know by these words that all men are created equal. It's beautiful. And I was brought up in an area called Stuyvesant Town, or Peter Cooper Village in Manhattan. I'm just going to lower this and get a little sun.
Yeah.
It just happens to be coming in this way. And that's a big complex. So I was a youngster. Then my parents moved to the Boogie Down Bronx. Mm-hmm. Those were the early 70s back in the day. I'm trying to date myself. But some of the craziest things, well, listen, I knew back in the day in the Bronx, I mean, what was really big, I mean, the city was a different city back then, right? It had a lot of graffiti. I knew a lot of these guys that were graffiti artists, but they were like, some of them were like really great artists, but they were graffiti. I mean, the New York subway system was riddled with graffiti. It was a problem, but some of them were really, really, really talented. So I remember that back in the day. And I remember, well, I'll tell you an interesting story. It kind of segues into the origin of SOHO Johnny, or how I became so musically inclined and loving to entertain, which is such a big passion of mine. After school in the Bronx, and I'm saying early, probably 72, 73, something like that, you know, my friends would all come over because my parents eventually bought a house. We were in an apartment, then they bought a house, and they would come to the garage. We had a garage in the backyard. Now, I had a strobe light. I had the old, back then it was classic rock music, and we were just partying back there. Now, my parents and my friends' parents, they knew we were back there, but in their mind, they were saying, you know what? We'd rather have them at John's parents' house in the garage than be out on the street, okay? And I was entertaining back in the day. I was the host, and I just loved it. I just loved having my friends over and having groups. And from that day forward, I would have parties, events, reunions, and I would do it more on a casual basis to begin with. But it was definitely I love to do. I love to bring people together and just to put smiles on people's faces, okay?
I'm picturing it now. I feel like when you said the strobe light and you know, the garage in the backyard, I feel like I'm there right now. I can see it.
Yeah, it was, listen, they were different times, but they're also similar times, okay? In different ways. Of course, the city was different and everything, but the bottom line, the common thread of entertainment and just the bond that you have when you entertain and you're on the stage, whatever, with the audience, and the love you go back, it goes back and forth. Believe me, in that instance, not about money. It's not about money. It's about joy, and it's mutual sharing of joy. People are sharing the thrill of the moment.
Yeah.
And what could be said? What could be said wrong about that? Take people away from their lives, to make people feel good. Now we're resorting to the internet, more of it, and I've got a show that's being planned now for the internet, like many other people are doing. And I have a couple ideas now, as long as we run, you know, don't run afoul of the law, and we don't want, you know, work something out where we can still have a show and just keep social distancing. But and I'm collaborating with a lot of interesting people.
This is the future, right here. We are going to be the face of media, the internet, and when the Internet of Things is implemented, even more so. And this, I mean, I think that if you look at it, I mean, everything's streamed now, even our television. Most people don't even, they're veering away from cable as well, and everything is Hulu and Netflix and YouTube and websites and, you know, blogs, vlogs, podcasts, show, you know, so this is where it's going. Now, it was a hot commodity, say 2003 to about 2013, that YouTube explosion was phenomenal. The people who jumped on that early from in that time period, they're wealthy young men now. And some of these were children that were 13, 14, 15 years old that had an idea. They would come on and they would video themselves with their cell phone. It was simple things. And it evolved to them now being faces of the world. They are the kings of the internet, of YouTube and videos and viral.
Well, the younger generation, they learned how to use a computer and the algorithms, or they went to school for it as it was more advanced and there was more better schooling for it. Mm-hmm. Like you and I probably jumped on the bicycle, our first two-wheel bike when we were younger, okay? So you get used to it and they're very conversant with it. And kudos. And listen, the evolution is good. Change is always good. You need to adapt to it, you need to work with it, benefit from it, hopefully in a good way for everybody. And it makes our lives a little bit better. The technological advances, I mean, look, the coronavirus, hopefully they're going to find within 12 months, whatever the case, the vaccine for it. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. It took us by surprise, but it's going to happen. And, you know, we need to keep striving. We need to keep exploring. We need to keep doing that. You know, back in 1918 was probably the closest analogy to what's happening now, Rich. Yeah. Spanish flu that many know about. Yeah. I had posted an interview with a gentleman, an elderly gentleman that lived through that. And, you know, I believe that back then they didn't have our technological expertise. They didn't have the communication pathways to communicate, to get the word out to everyone around the world. and I don't know if it was 50 million people died around the world. It's so tragic, terrible.
I mean, that's huge.
One death is too much.
Yeah.
And he made an interesting statement, because I've been having conversations with people, of course, in the entertainment business. It's a big part of that now. And I'm in the real estate business down in Soho too, peprealestate.com. And actually I was doing events too, and renting out places for long and short term. But he made a statement. It took the population a good 4 years to get to some semblance of normalcy and feeling comfortable enough to congregate like before. Now, I would say less than a year from now, I mean, in so many months, there's still going to be shows and gatherings, but, people are still going to feel a little bit more second guessing if you're going to be sitting too close to somebody, right?
Right.
Because the coronavirus today, but it could be something tomorrow, because this is a new learned behavior pattern that nobody expected before.
Yeah, you're right.
So, entertainment-wise.
Sports, I mean, indoor sports. A lot of people might, because some of these basketball arenas, from me going in the past, Chicago, here, LA, they pack you in like sardines, man. And some people, I mean, this might change. I don't know. I hope it doesn't. But like you said, this is a time now for us to reflect and come together even more. And like we're doing tonight,
Well, certainly one of the good things that's going to make people a lot more cognizant about sanitary habits, okay? And washing your hands, not touching anything. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's always a good thing. Things will get to somewhat normalcy. The economy is going to take a little bit longer, okay? Because that has a black eye, and it's just going to take time. But I remain eternally optimistic, because this too will pass. Some people think it's a test, and if it is a test, it's certainly a test of myself and how I can handle it. And I want to do everything I can to rise up. But to get back to your other question, Richard, you're talking about some of the things that I've been doing. Besides acting and recording, I'll be releasing something soon. I've been collaborating with a great friend of mine, a buddy, an extremely talented guy and producer in his own right, Scott Page.
Oh, yeah.
And Scott is, a lot of us may remember him. He was the saxophonist from Pink Floyd, the original Pink Floyd. And he has a band with some great talent called the Think Experience, Think EXP. And he's based in LA. And he's a great guy. And we've been collaborating. He just did a fundraiser for the Watts Conservatory in a very bad area of LA to raise money for underprivileged children for a music education. And he's working with the likes of Steve Perkins from Jane Addiction, Flea from Chili Peppers, Kenny Olson from Kid Rock, Tony Franklin from The Firm, Norwood Fisher, another bass player from the Fishbone. And, he's surrounded by such great talent. A lot of them were involved with the Watts Conservatory. I was helping out as any way I can. I had went out to LA. So he and I have been collaborating with a lot of different ideas. And we've got a very, very exciting project in the works. It's something that will go worldwide. It's something that, of course, will be philanthropic, because we share that type of philosophy. And it's definitely going to involve outreach of music entertainment with a lot of the artists. And I'm getting more and more artists under my wing, under the Soho Johnny umbrella, that, it's going to be somewhat of a very, very talented department store to bring out to the world, but with a good mission statement. And that's just a little hint of what we're doing. And I think it's so important, but it's something that, you just got to spread the beauty and spread the music.
And people can follow you. You said you have a website, correct? Do you want to give us
SohoJohnny.com, SohoJohnny.com. John Soho Johnny Pasquale, Pasquale, is my personal Facebook page, and Soho Johnny LLC is my Facebook and my Instagram. Gosh, I have people helping me, and I don't remember what my Instagram page is, but it's Soho Johnny. I think it's Soho Johnny LLC or something like that on my Instagram.
All right.
But it's important to get the word out. It's
Absolutely.
important to get the word out, and it's important to keep the communication going now more than ever before.
Absolutely. I agree. Man, I'm having a good time with you tonight. I got a new thing that I've been doing. You will only be the second one to do this. And we're calling it bands to describe yourself. And I'll ask you a few questions. I'll throw out 3 bands, and then I'll say something about your life about them. And then you can pick one and you can elaborate a little bit on it if you'd like. So with the first one, here we go. The Beatles, Pink Floyd, and the Rolling Stones. If you had to pick one of the 3 to describe your life up until now, who would it be?
Well, those are 3 greats that have contributed so much, right? I kind of, you know what? I'm going to segment the answer, because I would say from my earlier days, Pink Floyd, okay? Because they were probably playing in my garage back in the day, and the Dark Side of the Moon album is wonderful, and of course Scott has a intimacy with had working with them, having worked with them in the past.
Yeah.
It's just a perfect album. Us and Them, is something that resonates with me. It's not one of the top songs on the album, but it's one that I just love the words. And of course, back then it was probably relating to, the war or the Cold War that was going on at the time. And, I think for me, it just makes me think about, not necessarily a war across boundaries, but a war, diversity, the divisiveness between ourselves right now, which is something that we have to work on. Okay, I'm old enough to remember the divisiveness that existed back in the 70s and 60s, 70s, and then it's sort of gotten better, in my opinion, 80s and 90s. But now a lot of it came back, which kind of surprised me. So we need to rise above that. I think that's a symptom of the population that we need to cure. So when I think about Pink Floyd, Us and Them, not necessarily back then, maybe it was talking about the Cold War with Russia, with the United States,
Right.
or any type of war, maybe Vietnam at the time. Right now, I relate that to just amongst, between us and just your peers out there.
Yeah.
That we shouldn't. It's okay to disagree, but there's too much of it getting in your face and making things personal.
Mm-hmm.
Why on earth is that? Why does that have to exist today?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, most of us, we're all so blessed. And I say that, and I temper when I say that, because you may say, well, some people have more than others. I'm not talking about money. Money has its uses. Don't get me wrong. I'm not making light of people that, that don't have much. But I'm making light, if you wake up, if you have a significant other, you have a family, you have kids. I mean, that is so, so important to treasure, that you can wake up and have that joy and looking in your child's eyes or your wife's eyes or whatever. And of course, people don't stay together, whatever, but there's always somebody worse off than you.
Right.
Always. So you have to try to keep your eye on the ball. And my expression that I relate to everyone is through the expression of music and entertainment and projects that I'm working on. And I just try to wrench people out of that, okay? And anybody that knows a little bit of my background or sees some of my past work, this is part of my mission statement. Right. And it's, again, as I said before, it's so rewarding, Rich. Wow. It's so rewarding. I think it's something that, it's a drive that I feel within me to continue to do this, to continue to, it's this major project I'm doing with Scott. It's going to, it'd be such a great feeling to look back years from now and know that we accomplished this, and, and it's going to be fun. Let's not forget the fun factor, okay? Yeah, no, we're going to need a lot of fun after this, right?
Oh, we're going to need a lot of it. By the truckloads. And here's the thing. When you're doing what when you do what you love and you're passionate about it, every minute's fun anyways. There's not a dull moment, because you're able to do, it's just that, a lot of people, and I heard this the other day, this guy said, I'm done, man. We need to all be done. We need to stop giving 30 for 10. And we need to give our entire lives to whatever our passion or talent is. And whether you make $1 million or 2 cents, it doesn't matter. Do what you love and you will be happier than the richest man at the highest mountain. Because when you're doing what you love, it just, nothing else matters. It doesn't, because you are satisfying yourself and you are helping others at the same time. There's no, like you said, there's no greater feeling. So, yeah, I appreciate it.
You remind me of a quote that Scott Page tells me. You know, he says, "John, we live in the moment. This is now. This is what really counts.
Right.
The next moment's not here yet. The last moment is gone, but, you know, we'll learn from it. It's historic. But right now is the moment. This moment's never going to happen again. Again, you don't know what the future's going to hold. But this is the moment, so make it count. Do something that's going to matter."
That's right. All right, so Pink Floyd was your choice out of those 3. I like that. All right, here we go. Here's the next 3 I'm going to throw at you. ZZ Top, AC/DC, and Kiss. Of these 3,
another,
I'm not going to get too tawdry with it, folks, but of those 3, which one best describes your romantic or your life in romance?
Well, with romance, well, for some reason, I'm gravitating towards Kiss. You know, I love Gene Simmons. You know, he's the most audacious one with the tongue out and everything. I love Gene, and he's it's kind of scary that I would compare that to romance, right? But I think it's just you know, just kind of think I'm a diamond in the rough, and to have somebody take me in this way with my rough edges over there is a saint to anybody that would deal with me.
Right. I always saw myself like a ZZ Top, you know, I don't know, every girl's crazy about a sharp dressed man, you know, that kind of, every girl's crazy. I like to enter, when I enter a room, I like to, everyone always tells me, you're so gregarious. You just, you know, you're larger than life. You make people laugh. And that makes me feel good. I like to entertain. So when I walk in a room, that's why I try and turn heads just for that.
They call me Dr. Love.
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Love.
There we go. Now we know. All right. Well, I just threw those 2 out there. I want to try something different. We did it on the last show. And I like your answers with that. We talked about what you got upcoming with Scott Page. And I don't really want to get into the coronavirus, man. I've been talking about that for weeks.
Yeah, I think we don't want to talk about that. But we have, I'm taking several artists, more and more coming to me, approaching me. I'm taking them, you know, I'm privileged to have relationships now with them, and we're going to be combining, and we're going to be doing some mashups. We're going to be making things a little bit different. Okay, I've got a tribute song that I'll be releasing very well that Scott had worked with me and his band. It's wonderful. That's will be coming out soon. Hasn't been remade in many years. And I'll be collaborating with a lot of these other artists too, doing some duets. And that's probably going to happen in the next couple of months, because one good thing that's coming about this lockdown or staying home is that people should use the time to plan. And it's very important to do that, because it's important to remain regimented, even though you're staying home. I mean, listen, I gained some weight staying home too. Many of us complain you can't get to the gym, you can't do this. It's important to get out, go for walks and do everything. It's important to keep a regimen as if you're working, to be in front of the computer so many hours a day, so much for your family, so much for this. It's important to remain regimented. You know, the mind plays tricks on you. It's important to do that. That's basically what I think is important for everyone that's listening to us.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you know, and like you said a minute, this too shall pass. And we're close, folks. I mean, a lot of what I like, and I don't know if it's, I'll just say it, that right now the federal government is allowing the state governors to decide when they want to open their states back up. And kudos to the government for that, because the Fed could have really came in and put their boot on every state's neck if it really wanted to. And I think the way that has been handled, some think it's been too loose, but the governors are here to do what? Govern their states. And we should only look to the Fed when we cannot provide for ourselves as a state. And if our governor can't control us here, then he needs to get out anyways. So, basically he's the president of his mini country.
Right. So I think that was the right call as well, Rich, because each state is different and has different things that have to be taken into consideration.
Sure.
I mean, New York, for instance, where I am, New York State, it's it's certainly getting going through its trials and tribulations now.
You guys are getting beat down. I had talked with a priest. He's from Jersey, and he's been going down to New York City and praying with patients. And I really didn't get the scope of it until he talked to me, and he told me, he's like, we were on the phone, he's like, Rich, listen to me. He goes, I sat with 14 people praying today. 9 of them have passed. So, that weighs heavy on your heart, man. And it touches me because I get emotional about that because, like you said, even one, so many. And
I know.
Knowing that he is going.
Especially when it comes close to home. When it comes close to home, you feel it. It takes on a different meaning, okay? Listen, this is definitely a time to mourn, but it's definitely a time to learn. It's definitely a time to be smart.
Absolutely.
And it's completely, as I know I'm being redundant, but I think it's so important for the listeners out there. This is definitely a time for outreach, not physical outreach. We know that, but definitely have more communication and to, always have, let everyone know that we're there for each other. Okay. And the only way to do that, I post something on Facebook, I'm talking, I'm doing this, I'm calling this one, whatever. And I get, I get so much in return for doing that. And if we all do that, we got to keep our spirits up.
Yeah, we have to.
Okay.
Yeah, we have to. And here, I got something. I know time's fleeting, and I don't want to rush. But I wish we could have got some of the stuff we talked about before we started recording. We had some good stuff. But everyone that comes on the Big Rich Show, this will be something that it'll make everyone laugh, smile, and feel good. Runs the Gauntlet of 5. And the Gauntlet of 5 are going to be 5 quick yes or no questions. And you can say yes, no, or pass. And at the end of the 5, I'll ask, would you like to elaborate on any of them or all of them? And we can kind of try and close out the show on that note tonight. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. SOHO Johnny running the Gauntlet of 5. Your first one. Does Bigfoot exist?
I think in evolution, yes. Yes.
All right. Have we been visited by aliens?
I would say, given the parameter of billions of years on the earth and just my belief in science and outreach, I believe yes.
Yes. Okay. Did we land on the moon, or was it a hoax?
No, we definitely did.
Okay, I like that. And this one, I always get crazy questions. Time travel. Is it possible?
That's the toughest question. I think it is possible, but the question is, and I'm not trying to get scientific, but the amount of energy of doing it, we have to tap into the sun to create that amount of energy. Then the question is, can you actually convert? I'm sounding all Star Trekky here. I'm an old Trekkie, by the way. To be able to convert our molecules and our atoms to be sent from one place to the other, okay? So I think, you know, if we were able to harness enough energy and had enough technology, I think there's a remote possibility, but that may be way, way into the future if we ever get there.
Okay. Okay. Now, here's the last question. And this one all as well gets all various amounts of response. And I'm going to go, we all know whether you're spiritual, religious, or whatever, however you want to look at yourself, there was a flood here on earth. Now, pre-flood, a lot of the ancient scriptures in the Greeks and societies talk of hybrid creatures, everything from mermaids to centaurs to minotaurs to giants. Did any of these things truly exist, do you believe? And could they possibly still exist?
On the earth, I don't know about giants, but I believe in Darwin and evolution. It may take hundreds of thousands of years for that to happen. So it's not something that we see in our lifetime or like in immediate, even human history that we see, like we talk about Bigfoot or anything. So, but evolution, you know, there's something on a genetic level that changes us, that helps create us. I mean, if you look at the gestation of the womb, of the fetus in the womb, how it goes through all these different stages, where it's like a fish at one point, it's aqueous, it's breathing in water, and it keeps changing. That in of itself is a hint, and I do believe in evolution.
Okay. And it's funny that you said, you talked about us breathing in the liquid when we're in the womb, because I often thought, and someone had brought this up on another show when they did it, they said, well, what if we had mass floods now and we're all here? Would over a period of time, the more we're living in water or around that water and have less land, could we start developing webbed feet, gills behind our ears or something to that effect, to where we can do short-term diving? Because now it's essential for us to spend part of our time in the water. You know, kind of almost like he was saying, like a water world scenario.
Well, I think, again, segueing to evolution, I think womankind as itself will eventually get there. Our generations and the immediate generation after, it won't happen. We'll pass off.
Yeah.
But the question is, what is it that stimulates that gene to start reacting that way?
Right.
Okay. And I think, you know, it may be that the human race as we know it may die off, and there'll be something else that will come from the sea that'll have those webs and be more prone to aquatics that can do that. So it may not be our wave of humanity. It might be the next wave. Maybe that's how evolution works, because we're talking hundreds of thousands, maybe a billion years, right? Where things could happen. So evolution can have its time. But you know, I'm bullish on it. I'm bullish on the you know, it's the very essence of life, the life force, and just in that microscopic level, whatever, and that you know, it's just the beauty of life that we will, even on that level, you know, I'm optimistic how, you know, we'll persevere, we'll rise above. It's you know, whether we're consciously thinking about it or even on that level, kind of ties into what we were talking about before.
Yeah. I mean, we are a strong species, man. We seem to always rise above and overcome no matter what the odds. We're resilient. The human being is very resilient.
It's innate. It's in everybody. Some people don't tap into it. Some people are clouded because they're depressed, or they're doing something they shouldn't do, or drugs or anything, or just with, you know, the mindset. The mind is able to overcome, and the mind helps stimulate these things. The mind helps stimulate to keep your body healthy. Positive mind, positive, healthy body. You know, your mind tells you, well, you should exercise and you should do that. It's there for a reason. I mean, you know, you can say biblical. I'm not getting into religion, but there's another saying, God helps those who help themselves. I think it's very, very important that we do that. We're made to be creative, okay?
Absolutely.
And
we're all
independent of creativity.
Yeah. I like that, man. It's very deep. We went a little deep there. You know, and I like where you're going with it, because to me, it takes us to the pineal gland, you know, and that, you know, we don't even use that. And if people could tap in, I like to call it, everyone comes to a point in their life where that light clicks on, or that gland secretes just enough where they have an awakening state. And it's at that moment that you either transform and become what you can become, or you decide to stay what I like to call the sheeple, that stay in the herd and just keep moving forward as a herd. You know, it's the very few sheep that look up and go, whoa, there's a whole nother world out there.
Isn't that also called like the third eye?
Third eye, yeah.
I think it's right here, somewhere here, if I remember.
Yeah, it's in there. It's somewhere around floating in our. Yeah.
Yeah, well, listen, I did the appendix years ago. The theory is that it had a purpose, and the purpose of it was to digest plant food. You know, back probably with the Cro-Magnons or whatever, or Neanderthals before them, and we didn't eat it. Then we became carnivores, and we still ate some vegetables, but it didn't become needed as much. So now it just became an appendix.
Yeah.
But it looks like it had a purpose at one point, right?
Sure. Yeah. Wow. Well, there we have it, folks. We ran the gauntlet of 5, and man, I like where we went with this one. That was a good one. And from the smiles, it looks like you enjoyed it a little bit as well, my friend.
Oh, I definitely did. Again, Richard, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
And what I usually like to say when I'm interviewed like this to everybody that's all you're listening is that, as I say, if you're listening, just try after the show, whatever, just think about it, make a phone call, just put a smile on someone's face. Very simple thing. That's all I ask. Okay. And just try always to keep still the fact that we should be thankful. I'll be doing my part for those that follow me. And if anyone wants to pop me an email, john@sohojohnny.com, JOHN@sohojohnny.com. I'm a email away in myself in my humble way. But again, and Richard, again, I want to really thank you for everything that you do. And you're definitely light. You're definitely a light in this tunnel that we're going through now, and your voice resonates with beauty and love. And I want to thank you for doing that for everybody.
Thank you. I appreciate that, brother. That's touching. I do it because I love it. And I was going to say, with this show, fans, I want to do something special too. And I'm going to throw it up when this video goes live and I get it up onto YouTube and all the social media. I want everybody to check in at the Facebook, the fan Facebook page. Now, I've got about 1,700 people that follow that fan page. I'm going to give away an Academy gift card, but I want you to post. Anyone who watches this, you're going to have to go in and post on the Facebook page and let myself and Johnny know that you reached out to somebody after watching this video. And anyone who responds to that post will be entered, and I will do a random drawing live on Facebook at a time to be determined. That I might even try and get Johnny to join me for that, and we'll give this gift card away live. So that's what I want to do, and that's how I want to close this week, brother.
I love it. I love it, Rich. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's nothing. I love doing it, and it gets the fans to interact with us, and it shows them that it's all about giving and uplifting. So, with that said, you know how I do it, folks. God bless. Stay safe, and have a great night.